Join Gator great Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning. It's a live edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We'll have JC and Mike Morgan from the SEC Network today. If you missed it, there's a barn burner in the swamp. Went down the last 2-minute drive lasted about 40 minutes because they were doing some situational stuff. Blue team wins on a game winner by Trey Smack. Baseball wins one game out of the 3, as did softball on the road at Missouri. Missouri, highly ranked team. So struggling a little bit right now, but I don't have any concern there. Andrew says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plum. Let me guess, Shane, it doesn't matter what we look like on Saturday. It's just a spring game. Well, that is a fact. I mean, because what did you get out of the spring game? I mean, you got to see some new players, but it has no bearing on a damn thing that's going to happen August 31st against the Miami Hurricanes. JC, you're on the Titan of my Heartline courtesy of Comfort Tip. What do you think about that?
Yeah. I mean, I was up all night worried about it. I think one of the things I liked was obviously everybody was happy with how Lagway was running around, throwing darts, throwing the ball, making things trying to happen and so forth. It reminded me of Anthony Richardson, honestly, but maybe he's a better thrower. Maybe you can look at it that way. I like this kid Baugh. Jaden Baugh, is that his name? Baug. Yeah. I like the way he looked. He's a big guy, strong. Defensively, you could say that they were a little bit more aggressive, jumping some routes and so forth. Your kicker is good. And actually, we've got 4 months until we play a real game. So,
yeah.
Graham Mertz is going to be your starter, and DJ Lagway is going to see some playing time this year. But really, it's Mertz's team the way I see it.
Yeah, it's not even close than that. But I try to let people know the running back room is loaded.
Yeah,
they have the two true freshmen, Jaden Ball and KD Daniels from Mississippi, Balls from Georgia.
Yeah,
with Montrell Johnson and Trayon Webb, there we will not miss a beat at the running back position.
Yeah.
They're still the portal opens up today. If they find a wide receiver they like, we sound like the NFL here. If they find somebody on the transaction wire, they're going to go find somebody. So I do know they want to add a veteran wide receiver, productive wide receiver for that.
I liked how they tried to get Mizell going a little bit, and that was fun to see for the first time in a long time, if ever. And what did you think of the offensive line? I mean, did you see anything there that made you feel any differently about them?
Coach Napier on the broadcast, because Tate was talking to him during some of the live action, he thought the pocket was cleaner than it was and it was. I mean, we still gave up some stuff off the edge, but again, if you don't do that, then everybody's bitching that we can't rush the passer. I think LJ McCray is a problem for people. I think he's extremely athletic. He can bull rush. He can outrun you around the corner. Pup Howard is going to be a great addition at the tailback position. And I'm telling you right now, we have two legitimate corners that are NFL players.
Pretty
and
good.
with the additions of the guys that have played a lot of football at the safety positions, we're going to be better on the back end.
That helps. I liked Wilson too, of course. I've always liked Wilson. I liked him.
Well, JC, I told everybody about Wilson last year in the fall that he was a prime player. I kept saying after the second or third drive, tell him to take his damn shoulder pads off. We don't need to see any more of him. But he played a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't want him to get hurt.
Right.
So anyway, we got some messages I need to get here. Josh on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says, hang on, let me pull it up. I just lost it. Oh, here it is right here. Based on what you saw at the spring game, what 3 wide receivers, tight ends, and running backs are you starting? Again, starting is not a big deal. They're going to rotate a lot.
Yep.
Montrell Johnson is clearly your starting tailback. Trey Wilson, Boardingham. I think the other two receivers outside of Wilson will be
Mizell.
DK and possibly Aiden Mizell.
Yeah.
Khalil Jackson will rotate in there. But again, like I said, they're gonna try to find a receiver if there's one in the portal available. Brian says the biggest thing that was posted online was 10 people on defense during the field goal. They need to do more with that time. I didn't notice that. All right, let me get to this text on the Titan More text line. This is from 941. Orange and Blue gained some promising things. Tackling was better. Mertz is definitely our guy. Need one more receiver and a rush in, no pass rush. He says baseball is going to be okay as Capola is, and we will not back down. But contrary to what you and I typically believe, we have to win our midweek games to get at least 30 wins by the SEC tournament to host a regional. Okay, I don't think there's any possible way of hosting right now. The only way you're going to host is if you sweep Vanderbilt and you sweep you got to sweep Vanderbilt and you got to sweep Arkansas. We got to worry about getting to the SEC tournament now because you don't take every team. So we got to qualify to get in.
This team rolls in here and scores 28 runs on Florida. And even though last week, I know you said that, pitching didn't seem to be the problem. It was against a lousy team. And the reality is against good teams, they can't stop anybody.
Well, I didn't say pitching was not a problem. I said pitching is a problem, but hitting is a problem as well.
But you were more concerned about the hitting against Missouri than I was. And
because we scored 2 and 3 runs, JC.
Right, but they can't stop anybody. And these teams are just racking up the runs. They're just loading up and scoring a lot of runs on Florida. Good teams, the good teams. Now, I'm not worried about, the others like Missouri. But the thing is that I think we have seen now what they are, and that is a pretty average group. I thought maybe there was a chance they would be above average. I don't think they're that. And softball, as far as softball goes, Keegan Rothrock was really good. Thank goodness for her, or else they get swept. And so, they hit a little bump in the road here against Missouri. Missouri, what the hell is with Missouri? Why is Missouri giving Florida so much grief?
Well, Missouri's ranked in softball, Jason.
Missouri's got a losing SEC record, but I hear
in softball.
Yes, they're 7-8.
Well, they're ranked like 12th in America.
I know. So it's a tough conference. Let's just go with that. But nobody's here. I'm not delusional. They're not winning it. They're not winning it. I just don't think they're going to win it. Now, I hope I'm wrong. I want them to win something. But
the
SEC or the national championship or anything.
Well, nobody said that. You sound like
I know, but
people.
when I think about these teams and I go into a season, I want to talk about championship. You were talking about what's elite. Well, elite means you have to win something. And
which they have, JC. Don't. I'm not even going on that tangent right now. Softball has lost 8 games all year. 8 games.
They've lost 9, and it's okay.
9. Okay,
I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about softball as much as baseball.
Baseball and softball are like night and day right now.
Yeah, I know. So. But we talk about these things and we get into semantics and so forth. And the reality is that you got to win something if you're going to be, important, right?
Right. But I just want people to realize again, and you sound like a lot of these people. They think that when you sign up to play a season, that you're automatically going to go to Oklahoma City and you're automatically going to go to Omaha,
That's
Nebraska.
Standard, QB. That's a standard. You can talk
it's
about it.
It's a standard, but do you know how freaking hard it is? It's just people talk about getting into the NCAA tournament. It is hard.
Nobody is saying it's not hard. But when you establish a standard and you want to maintain your elitism, then you better start winning. And you can't be losing at Missouri. My God.
But you're talking regular season. See, you're talking out both sides of your mouth. You talk about regular season and you talk about postseason. Okay. Again, I'm going back to softball.
I'm not.
And if anybody does not agree with me here, I think you're off your rocker. If you have had a head coach for 18 years and you have gone to the mecca of college softball 11 of those 18 years, you've won 2 national titles. You are an elite program.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about right here, right now.
Right. And so,
right
JC, are they
now.
ranked in
I
the
know
top
the
10? I'm just going to
resume.
ask. Are they
I
ranked in the
know
top
the
10?
resume. I know
Are they
the
ranked in the
resume.
top 10? Answer my question.
I don't. Are they? I guess. Are they?
Well, they've
I don't
lost
know.
9 times.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So all
Okay.
I'm
It's
telling you is
baseball.
that
I mean, softball.
it's softball. I'm not worried. I just said softball doesn't concern me as much as the baseball team does. The baseball team concerns me a lot more.
Yes. The people are talking about hosting a regional. We got to worry about getting to the SEC tournament.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mike wants to know on Facebook Live, what did I think about the number of downfield passes were attempted? To me, it looked like a normal spring game. Played a lot of people. You know, I don't know if there were more downfield passes than what we've seen in the past. We hit a couple. If you hit a couple, people notice. So I don't know. Like I said, it was a normal spring game. I was just excited for people to see our running backs because I knew we had really good running backs.
Yeah, I think this ball kid is
Jace, the kid from Mississippi is just as good. He didn't
Yeah,
get as
you
many
like
carries, but
Yeah.
he was the player of the year in the state of Mississippi, and he can tote the rock, dude.
Yeah.
He is very, very good.
So you think this team's going to average 30, 35 points a game, 30, 35 points a game? You think they can do that?
I think the offense is going to be better than it was last year. So what did they average
Well,
last
that
year?
would do it. That would just about
Yeah.
do it then. Yeah. So
Yeah.
really, there's every reason to believe that if a team can average that many points, there's every reason to believe they can win over 6 or 7 games, right? I mean, that's kind of the way I look at it, big picture. And I do tend to think of it big picture now that we are done with spring and we're going forward. And I believe that you have to start off with a win at home in that first game. And the first 6 games will dictate, obviously, the tone for the rest of the season. And if they can get through those first 6 games, like we have said, and they win 4 or 5 of those, then it could be a really, really exciting year in terms of what the expectations are. You know, I don't think we're winning the SEC, but I think Florida can really exceed expectations. And I'm curious what Vegas will have their win total at this year. I don't know what that is.
It'll probably be 5.5 is my guess.
5.5 is not a very high expectation. That's a low expectation.
JC, does anybody in America have high expectations with this schedule and how the team was last year?
Right, but you got to believe that they're going to be improved.
The team in that locker room believes. I promise you that.
Right? Yeah. So
so that has nothing to do with Vegas or you or me or anybody else.
Jimmy, we're doing a freaking podcast. We're just talking here. I mean, you're over here talking like it's some sort of a test we've got, an exam coming up on Wednesday.
But I'm giving you a fact, JC. Does anything that locker room thinks?
I'm just trying.
Do they care what Vegas thinks? Does Vegas care what they think?
No. And you know what? I didn't call Jaden Ball over the weekend to ask him, and I didn't call Graham Mertz. I'm just simply saying some guy on the beach talking on a podcast would like to try to get some sort of expectation laid down.
Well, I'm giving you the expectation. I expect them to win the first 5 games because they will be favored in the first 5. Coach Spurrier said they're going to win 9 games. Okay, that's what we said.
He said they're going to win 9.
That's what he said.
I don't see 9 wins. But maybe I'm wrong.
Do we need to call Coach and have him talk to you?
I think we do.
That's his expectation.
Okay, then I'll
actually, Rodney said 8. I couldn't remember if it was 8 or 9. He said 8. All right. So Michael says, were there any communication issues on special teams? I couldn't tell. I don't think so. Again, you can't take a whole lot of this kind of game because you don't have the entire coaching staff coaching both teams. They were split up. I thought it was a very well-run spring game. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. What about that golf tournament yesterday? Did you watch any of that?
Yeah, Scotty. I mean, I was going to ask you: is Scotty Scheffler the best golfer you've ever seen, JC?
I mean, come on. I think Tiger Woods has got that crown, but I think right now there's absolutely no question that he is far and away. But I just want to know what he tells the LIV people when they come to him with $1 billion in their pocket. At some point, how much is enough, right? And he's going to get an offer. But he is the best ball striker we've seen in years, and I think
he's the best that's ever played the game. I mean, even those old guys say
you didn't watch Jack play much. You didn't watch Tom Watson play much.
JC. But here's the thing. But me and you talking about the best ball strikers does not have the same credibility as I know he's old. He's not even doing stuff. But the Ken Venturis, the Brandel Chamblees, the
Mhm.
Trevor Immelmans, those guys, they know more about striking the golf ball than we do.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
people say
sure.
he's the best that's ever played.
Yeah, nobody's going to question that. But the thing is that yesterday's tournament looked a lot like what Tiger did in 2019 or 20 was when he was 19. And that was basically every time he was challenged or every time he created an issue for himself, he comes right back and birdies the next hole. He birdied 6 of 8 holes yesterday, just destroyed the back 9, had no issue with amen corner, maybe had one bogey or something, but nothing terrible, and just finished. He's a finisher. And it's amazing to me. I guess the biggest thing for me is that this guy is 27 years old and has won 2 majors now and has a good 10, 15 years to go, I'm sure. And I'm just curious, what do you think he's going to have at the end of it all? And it's got to be double digits if he keeps hitting a golf ball like this. I mean, he just puts himself in such position to succeed. He never seems to have an issue when he's in trouble off the green or whatnot, because the short game is spectacular. So, maybe not the best putter on earth, but you don't have to be when you're that good hitting the golf ball. And he is that good. And
Yeah.
He's the best we've got going right now.
Yeah, somebody on here, I can't see who says this on Facebook, says, let's see him do it for a decade, then we can talk about the best to play the game.
Sure.
I will say this, though.
Fine.
I do think the competition on the PGA Tour now is night and day compared to when Tiger and those guys were playing. Because remember, we were on a text feed. A buddy of ours sent us the top 20 in the world when Tiger was number 1. And those guys don't even compare to who the top 20 in the world are today.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, if Tiger doesn't have those issues midlife there, I think he clearly has more than 18 majors.
Tony says he's about to have a kid. He's toast. That could be true.
Scotty, yeah. But listen, the guy is just a machine. He's a robotic machine out there, and nothing seems to get to him. He can handle all of the pressure. He's that good. He's probably going to win another major this year. Would you bet against him in the U.S. Open? I wouldn't. I mean, if you put it in the fairway off the tee every single time as consistently as he does, you're going to have the opportunity to win it.
He's on a different level than everybody else in the world right now. Chris and Mayak on the Titan Hour text line says, I enjoy hearing old Vern Lundquist on the call. Only time we hear him now is at the Masters, and that was it. He's done. Yesterday was his last day, and it's a shame. I love Vern. I like Vern when he did SEC games. I know a lot of fans didn't like him, but I did.
Oh, I loved him. And, he had that call with Jack in 1986 when Jack won his Masters.
Sir.
Yeah, I mean, that was, if you think about it, 38 years ago. And the guy sounds pretty much the same way as he does now. I know he's a lot older, but 38 years ago, goodness gracious. Yeah, he's a legend. He's a legend. And it was fun listening to him. But Scotty is tremendous. But, this kid, Abear, that you've been talking about, really.
Oberg.
He's got so much raw talent. It's incredible. How did he not win the NCAA golf championship? I mean, it's just golf, right? I mean, some days you've got it all going for you, and other days you don't. But consistency to me is the key to defining what is truly great and what's hot, and then what's not. Live play. Let's look at the live guys. Is Dustin Johnson? Does he even care? Is John Rahm the same guy? I don't know. Maybe he is. Maybe he isn't. But
speaking of John Rahm, that exchange, the jackets in Butler's cabin was the most
awkward. It was awkward. It was weird.
That's the word I'm looking for. They did not want to be sitting next to each other.
It was awkward. And who knows what goes on behind the scenes, but you're exactly right. After he put the jacket on, he didn't even go around and shake the guy's hand. It's like Rahm was thinking, why do I have to be there? And, good for that amateur, too. That kid was really nervous. You can tell sitting in that historic place. But he played great. Good for that kid.
Live a healthier lifestyle with our bold, flavorful smoothies and our amazing food. Tropical smoothie. When you eat better, you feel better. We got JC on the Titan Hour hotline, courtesy of Comfort Town. We'll have Mike Morgan here shortly. We got a couple more texts to get to. I'm not sure who this is from. It says, how in the world did we get that running back from Mississippi with the Grove NIL? How did they let him get away? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know what he got from us, but KJ Daniels is going to be a heck of a tailback for us for sure. JC, let's get to this day in sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Puts a star power to work in your financial life. Campus USA Credit Union. This was in 1997. Major League Baseball honors Jackie Robinson by retiring number 42 from all teams.
Yeah. Okay.
Now they have a day where everybody wears 42. I can't remember what day that is.
Yes, that's right. I don't either, but I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, let's get some more text here. There's a million text on here. I'll just pick a few here. What was that, Zach?
Zach said something about April 15th.
Oh, everybody wears number 42 today. Okay, got it.
Thank you, Zach.
Yeah, this is from Chris saying how Scotty Scheffler's in pretty elite company with 2 master wins by age 27.
Yeah. It's incredible. I was floored. For some reason, I thought he had won a major. But let's think about this guy's last 6 weeks. Bay Hill, TPC, could have won the Houston Open by forcing a playoff, just missed a 6-foot putt or something, would have been in the playoff for that, and then just runs away and hides on the weekend at Augusta. And, you talk about the live guys. I don't talk about them. That's the thing. They're not a factor. They don't even Mickelson and Johnson and
the only one that played well was
Cam Smith.
Cam Smith. He putted so bad this week. Right, I think I read somewhere where he missed like 8 putts inside 10 feet, which he's the best putter in the world.
Yeah, he's good. And DeChambeau, if he could have just putted,
he's a wacko.
Him putt makes my eyes want to peel out of my skull. But he's a great ball striker. But my God, those were the only 2 live guys that even were a factor. And so it just goes to show you that this money grab is great for those guys, but it is not competitive golf. And that's you can't show up at the Masters and just turn it on. I think when you basically play for free with a bunch with shorts on and t-shirt.
They're playing in charity golf events each week.
Yeah, that's not the same, and the environment I think does take you over sometimes. Koepka he looked like he was just wasting his time out there. He didn't have there was nothing. Dustin Johnson looks awful. He looks awful. It's not even good. So,
all right, on the on Facebook Live, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Brent says Florida Victorious is definitely growing. I waited in line for over 30 minutes to get down the field. Yeah, Florida Victorious did a good job with all the festivities. So congratulations to Freddie and his group. And I know they did a big autograph session there at the end. I don't know how long that took.
Good. 48,000 fans, QB. They had it was really nice.
It was a very good crowd. There was a ton of stuff going on campus. You had a track meet going. I think tennis was playing. Obviously, you had baseball. So there was plenty of stuff to get to. Yeah. For sure. So
I read where the women's golf team finished 13th at the SECs.
Who did?
The Lady Gator golf team.
Oh, did they? They finished 13th?
13th, yeah, at the SECs. So they're hoping someone calls their name for a regional bid, I guess.
Yeah, 13th ain't good. They've been playing pretty good. I don't know what happened there. All right. Chris from Cottondale says Jaden Ball is an absolute dude. Looked very good as he is in the backfield. Can also split out as a wide receiver when needed. ETN who? Yeah, between him, I know he made a lot of really good runs, and Katie Daniels made a couple too, but he didn't get as many carries to showcase his talent. But like I said, when ETN wanted to transfer, I was like, go right ahead, brother. Because I actually read somewhere where he may not even be their starting tailback.
Well, he's got some other issues off the field going on as well. But this ball kid, 77 yards, that was the guy who kind of stood out to me and said, wow, who was that guy? But I think Lagway was also somebody that people were really excited to watch. And I don't think, after that first drive, he did fine. I didn't think he was fine.
Yeah, I thought DJ, the few practices I've been to, I thought he had his best performance in the spring game. He really struggled in practices that I was at. But he's young. They kept it very simple.
Raw. He's good.
He looks like he's got great leadership ability. I watched him a lot on the sidelines.
I like him. I like him.
And him and Graham have a great relationship. Make no mistake, Graham Mertz is your starting quarterback, they'll just see how much Lagway in the game. Maybe some games where he doesn't even play at all. And there may be somewhere they have a few packages for him. But offensively, I think they're going to be pretty good. But they are looking for on the waiver wire for another wide receiver.
Get some free agents, man. Come on, get your free agent GM. Get out there and find some free agents for us.
It'd be interesting to see if any of our kids go into the portal today. As somebody mentioned on Facebook Live, they heard Andy Jean may go in there. Look, I think Andy Jean's very talented, highly regarded kid coming here last year, but he's been hurt the whole time with a hamstring.
Can't do much for that.
Tim says on Facebook Live, a two-headed QB. I don't think you're going to see that a lot.
No, I think that would be detrimental to Graham Mertz.
Yes.
Mertz needs to play and have the moment, the rhythm, the tempo, the momentum. He's got to stay in the game. He's got to stay in the game through the good possessions and the bad ones. And guess what, folks? There's going to be some bad possessions, but you're not going to bench the guy because there's a couple bad possessions. You can't do that. Otherwise, you won't get the best out of him. He's got to play and be the number one guy and know he's the number one guy, and he'll make you happy. Listen, if they score 30 to 35 points a game, then they're going to be in most of these games, right?
Well, I think the defense with the additions they've made in the all season through the portal or with the experience on the back end, and like I said, it's all going to come down to the front four getting pressure. I really like LJ McCray coming off the edge.
Yeah, it's a better team. We talk about schedule, but this has got a better look. This team's got a little bit more talent. There's a little bit more excitement. The season is not, is something to be excited about, not scared of. And even though the schedule looks hard, it doesn't really matter because after that first 6 games, you don't know what the teams that want to play in the last 6 games have done. And it could be, things change during the season. Injuries take place, momentum, confidence, all of these things matter. This QB's played. You can tell everybody.
Tim says Mertz has happy feet. I don't see happy feet at all. I think he's extremely fundamentally sound. He does not have happy feet. I'm not sure what. All right. Before we get you out of here, Team Hammerhead on YouTube brought to you by Quality Plumbing says, QB, did you and JC think tackling showed any improvement? Seems to me tackling is one of the few things that you can take away from a spring game. Yeah, they've been talking about it in all their scrimmages. I thought the tackling looked pretty damn good Saturday for the most part. Too.
They filled those gaps, man. I look, it's just a spring game, folks, like Shane says. But you got to see something, right? They got to put something out there on the field to be excited about. We got 4 months to go, and then it's
this is the most talented roster that he's had since he's been here.
100%.
So all right, JC, we're going to get to Mike Morgan.
All right, Big Mike. Let's go hear what Mike's got to say. Mike's going to say that Scotty is
speaking of, we're going to talk to Mike about this, but I don't know if people saw this, but the introduction to Mark Pope as the head coach at
Kentucky
sold out Rupp Arena.
Okay.
Then his 96 national championship team, majority of the team was on the bus. They pull a bus into Rupp Arena. They get off, Tony Delk, all these guys screaming to the fans, and he gets off holding their national championship trophy. Dude, let me tell you something. The more I think about it, I forgot he was the head coach at BYU. Somebody told me he was an assistant. He was not. He was their head coach. They run a fun offense. I believe Reed Shepherd's going to come back because I want to say his dad was on that team and he's buddies with Pope.
He was. Who the hell said he was the assistant? Well, I read that too, by the way.
No, he was. Of course, he was an assistant before he became a head coach.
But he was the head.
I think it's a home run hire. The more I think about it,
well, they're happy with him. They're happy with him.
Yes.
I know.
They had 25,000 people in standing room only in Rupp Arena when they introduced him as the coach. So, all right, let's get to Mike Morgan.
Okay.
JC, have a good day.
Big Mike.
All right. We're going to take a quick time out. We come back. We'll be joined by the SEC Networks. Mike Morgan, you're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning. We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Campus USA, put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union.
Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
Dave & Buster's Eat, Drink, Play, Watch. Radware, your local provider of promotional products, uniforms, and apparel. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Radware, F45, Quality Plumbing. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker Sporting Goods. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Ruse Ogre State Farm offers a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. We're going to head back to the Titan More Hotline courtesy of Comfort Temp. And our man from the SEC Network, Mike Morgan, is brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Mike, how you doing, my man?
I'm good, Shane. How's everybody doing this Monday morning in Gator Nation?
Well, I think everybody's great. A lot of people on campus this weekend for the spring game. Speaking of that, a bunch of people commenting on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, about the field. That might be the best I've ever seen that turf look. It was beautiful.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. I mean,
Alabama's field. Did you see the pictures of Alabama's field on Twitter?
No.
Oh my Lord! I meant to bring it up with JC.
Is it rough shape?
It literally, like outside the hashes, it was nothing but like sand and a little bit of grass. So,
geez. Did you see what Ole Miss did on their spring game?
So I mentioned it on the podcast last week. I'd read he was getting a lot of sororities and fraternities involved. They're bringing their own beer and drinks. But didn't they only play like on like the flag football or 7-on-7 field?
Shane, no pads. Okay. Not shell. I mean, completely no pads. They put a basketball court on the football field to have a dunk contest in the pregame. They had a tug of war, and they played 7-on-7. It basically, Lane Kiffin said, and I've done a lot of these games now on TV. First ever spring game I did was the 1994 Florida spring game on radio. And I remember back then as a college kid, like that was, I'm calling like a Fred Taylor run. And it was just like, you actually took that game seriously. And fans would go to the swamp, and it was like, okay, you're not going to, the quarterbacks still have the yellow jersey. You're not going to belt them, and you're probably not going to throw a lot of exotic blitzes out there. But you took the game somewhat seriously. We have now thrown that in the trash. And Lane Kiffin almost made an exclamation point saying, yeah, not only am I not going to take this game that seriously, I'm going to turn it into a full-fledged circus, which is what it was. And that's kind of where we are. And I'm sure you guys talked about this earlier. You can gain a few things here and there from a spring game, but not much. I mean, like you talk about a quarterback situation in Lagway. So, I mean, real bullets are going to be fired when you run on an SEC Saturday, and you have to think about taking a hit. There's going to be blitzes in an SEC game where you don't always know where the pressure is coming from. You're going to be less likely to hang in the pocket maybe when you know you're going to be actually a 300-pound man is going to hit you and drive you to the turf in a real game. So I don't know what we get out of these anymore. Everybody puts their positive spin on this, that, and the other, but I think you learn a lot more, frankly, from a scrimmage that we're not invited to see anymore, but you learn more from a scrimmage than to do a spring game.
Yeah, well, you're right. A lot of times in spring game stuff is scripted where, okay, this is the only coverage you can play. You can only rush 4. You cannot bring an extra fifth or sixth defender.
Right.
So we don't know, but you're right. Ole Miss also had Joey Chestnut doing a hot
Yeah,
dog
Joey
eating
Chestnut
contest.
eating hot dogs. I mean,
Yeah, what a mess. What a mess. Mike, I got to get your thoughts. Mark Pope, been hired by Kentucky.
yeah,
Your wife is a Kentucky fan,
big
grew up in
time.
Kentucky.
Hmm.
I forgot that I knew who BYU's basketball coach was, but I didn't put two and two together
Yeah.
because I was a huge I love Kentucky basketball because one of my high school teammates, Dale Brown, went to Kentucky to play, and he was there. Uh, right, he left right when they started winning the national title in '96. But I think it's a tremendous hire now that I think about it. I don't know if you saw on Twitter, they
I did.
packed Rupp Arena. They bring
Yes.
in the '96 national championship team in on that bus. That was pretty cool.
In front of a packed house. So 20,000 people decided I'm going to go to Rupp. And by the way, I mean, for those that haven't been to Lexington, it's not like if you're a Gainesville resident and you're driving to the O'Connell Center. Like Lexington is a fairly bigger city. There's traffic. I'll bet you some of those fans too, knowing Kentucky the way I do now, they probably drove 2 hours for that. Because most Kentucky fans don't live in Lexington. A lot of them have to drive from all parts of the state to go to Rupp Arena for a game. And I'm sure several of them did that to show their support. No, it was a big time showing. Your point on Mark Pope, I mean, it's really interesting. And I remind people of this all the time with athletic directors because people think they all live in their own bubble. Now, Kentucky basketball is without question the most prestigious college basketball program, soup to nuts. You want to talk about history? It's there. You want to talk about fan support, money? It's there. And you want to talk about the best, most loyal, most traveling fan base. They treat road games like SEC football fans treat road games. But they obviously have been underachieving. And this is what I say about athletic directors. You're not going to get your first choice. And he didn't. Mitch Barnhart, that is. You didn't get Nate Oates. You didn't get Chris Beard. I'm convinced that channels were taken to offer Billy Donovan the job yet a third time, and that didn't happen. And so at best, you probably got your fourth choice. You know what? It might turn out to be a great hire. I don't know. Nobody knows. You could almost make a parallel to Billy Donovan in that here's a guy that coached a few years at BYU, not exactly, even though they're in the Big 12 now, not on everybody's radar. He did not win an NCAA tournament game. They did go to 2. And people were like, why are we hiring? I mean, the hire was crucified by a lot of the national and local media when it was made. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, wait a minute. This guy's actually pretty sharp. He runs a great offense. People respect him. He took BYU to 2 NCAA tournaments. That's no small thing. The last year in the Big 12 doing it. He's one of ours. And maybe we get lightning in a bottle here. Instead of just going for the big, sexy name, we got a guy that fits our program. So I could see it one of two ways. I know this much. He would be better. He would be very well suited to get to the Sweet 16 at least in year 1. No more of this losing in the first, second round. You're Kentucky. You should not have that happen on a remotely regular basis. So I think it's going to be a very interesting situation to watch. But I think he's won a lot of people over since that press conference and since that day at Rupp.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, I don't know if it was JC I was talking to or you were on here. I like the hire. Now, my question is, I want to say Jeff Shepherd was on that team with him.
Correct.
Do you think Reed comes back for another year?
Man, this is where the only reason it's even considered is because of NIL money, because he could make a boatload of NIL money next year. I mean, he could make almost like football NIL money at Kentucky.
Right.
He's a legacy, he's a stud, and he's a projected lottery pick. Like if he goes, it's not like, well, is he going to be a late first, early? No, he's a lottery pick if he goes. There aren't many lottery picks that turn that down. But because of his unique situation with his dad and with Kentucky and with NIL and with Mark Pope, to your point, coming back, they could give him a Godfather type offer that he can't refuse. So I wouldn't rule it out. Ordinarily, I'd say, no way, he's gone, but perhaps he could come back.
Yeah. Sticking with basketball for a second, I don't have it in front of me. I know the kid the Gators got a commitment out of the portal from a kid that played at UT Chattanooga. I can't remember his name, but got to trust Todd Golden's the way they evaluate talent, because I feel like everybody they bring in
Well,
is
they
pretty
struck
good.
gold in the portal last year. I mean, they struck gold in the portal last year. Now, can you do it 2 years in a row? I don't know. It's because there's, you know this, Shane. Every time you go to the portal in any sport, there's still a bit of a gamble to it. It's not, there's no such thing as a guarantee that it's going to work. They're all going after the same guys, established guys that have already put up numbers, typically at mid-major programs that are clearly a cut above the rest in that league and are ready to show what they can do. And that's what you got last year out of Clayton, out of Pullen, out of Hanlogden. So we'll see. His winning percentage in the portal last year was as good as any coach in the country, I thought. Can you do it 2 years in a row? We shall see.
Yeah, yeah. We got a text here on the Titan Mark text line regarding Mark Pope. It says it's very similar to Georgia and Florida hiring Kirby Smart and Steve Spurrier. Kirby had never been a head coach, but he'd been coaching under Saban. I bet if people had podcasts and stuff back in the day, that a lot of these Gator chat boards and stuff, when they hired Steve Spurrier from Duke, they're probably like, "Why in the hell are we hiring somebody that
Hey,
coached at Duke?"
listen, Shane, my last year at Florida as a student, I covered the Billy Donovan press conference. And I can tell you the vibe in that room was Jeremy hired who? From Marshall? 30 years old? What the hell has he done in Marshall? What is this? This is a reach, man. I mean, I'm telling you, I was there. There is nobody that was celebrating that hire. Nobody. That was an absolute Hail Mary type of hire, and it turned out golden. Absolutely. I mean, you could make an argument that was Jeremy's best conquest. Everybody knew Urban Meyer was a great hire. He didn't hire Steve. A lot of Gator fans still make that mistake. But the Billy Donovan hire was like, what? And obviously, it was beyond a home run. So yeah, people doubted that one. I'm sure there were some people that doubted Steve. I mean, look, Kirby was an elite defensive coordinator under Nick Saban for years.
Right.
He was going to, and if Georgia didn't hire him, South Carolina, I know for a fact, was about to. So this might be a little more of a reach. And again, it is Kentucky, and the fan base, and Florida went through this a little bit with their football searches, just like LSU has, just like Alabama just did. You just assume you get whoever you want. You just look like, do you understand how good we are? Do you understand we play in this great stadium with this great fan support? Yeah, so does 20 other programs, many of them in the SEC. So you don't get your first choice. Almost never, as an athletic director, do you get your first choice on who you're going to hire.
Got a text here on the Titan Mark text line from George. He says, "Mike, I want to get your thoughts on Caitlin Clark, what you thought of her career. I believe the WNBA draft is tonight."
Phenomenal. I'm very honest with people about what I watch and what I think is great. I'm not going to sit there and go, now I'm the biggest WNBA fan because everybody else is saying I should be. I don't care if Diana Taurasi thinks I should watch the WNBA. I'm not watching the WNBA. That being said, I caught the fever. I watched every second of the women's Final Four, both games. And the Caitlin Clark thing was real. There's some haters out there, and if you hated Caitlin Clark, you kind of need to look at yourself in the mirror, maybe evaluate where that's coming from. But she's just different. I've seen the best players coming through women's college basketball. She is absolutely different. Does that mean she's going to dominate the WNBA? I don't know, and I'm not sure if I even care. But what we were treated to, people say, well, she didn't win a title. Do you understand that with all due respect to the other 12, 13 young ladies on that team, Iowa didn't even belong in the same zip code as the Final Four. Okay, she's playing with like very average talent, while South Carolina is stockpiling lottery picks every year under Dawn Staley. LSU had more talent. I mean, everybody had more talent, and she led them to 2 consecutive championship games and broke every single record that you can imagine. I was blown away by the Caitlin Clark phenomenon. I don't know if we're going to see another player in the women's game quite like that for a while, because there's some other great players, but they don't play like her. She had a Steph Curry just synergy that was like, okay, this is entertaining. I'm watching this.
Radware is a family-owned business that prides itself in excellent customer service while providing quality and affordable promotional products and customized apparel. We got my man Mike Morgan from the SEC Network, courtesy of Comfort Temp and Campus USA Credit Union. All right, let's switch over to baseball. SEC is tough, as we all know. Gators are struggling right now in baseball. South Carolina came to Gainesville, took the series 2-1. Right now, I'm embarrassed to say this. I know the SEC only allows X amount of teams into the SEC tournament. What do the Gators have to do to make sure they make the SEC tournament, Mike? Because right now, I think they're like, I need to pull it up. They're like 6 and 8 or 7 and
They're 7 and 8.
7 and 8.
So we're officially at the midway point. You like golf? I always make the analogy. We're at the turn, Shane.
Okay.
We're in the clubhouse, maybe grabbing a hot dog and a beer, ready for the second half. Yeah, the top 12 out of the 14. This is going to change. I believe when Texas, Oklahoma come, they're changing the format where I think they want to get everybody in, which I don't know about that, but coaches that are on the hot seat don't want to be one of the two coaches that are left home for the SEC tournament. So they're always going to vote, yeah, we should let everybody in, just like they do in basketball. But usually there's a couple of teams in baseball that clearly just do not have the horses. They don't have the pitching, that they can't compete in the postseason. So just let them move on to the season. I don't think that's Florida. I think Florida will get in. I mean, it's amazing. LSU hasn't won a series yet. The defending national champions, they haven't won an SEC series. They're at the bottom of, when I look at that, I'm like, wow. It just shows you, with the turnover, and obviously you got Kaggs, and he's as good as anybody, although Condon's about to break his 33 home run record. That kid at Georgia is freaking phenomenal. What he is doing is insane, Shane. It's absolutely insane. I think Florida makes it, but here's what I tell Gator fans. Every year at this point, there's going to be a couple of teams that are doing well, that hit the skids, and there's going to be a couple teams that have been underachieving that all of a sudden find their mojo and they go on a run. And then they've got all that momentum going into the postseason, which is so important in baseball. I think more than any other sport. You want to have a hot pitcher. You want to have a hot lineup. You hope that Florida is that team. I don't know if they are. I've never seen a Florida team this deficient in both hitting and then not elite in pitching. Every Sully staff is elite, except this one clearly is not. So I think they'll make the SEC tournament, but unless the light really goes on with some of these guys, I don't know if he's got the horses to make a deep run like he normally does.
Yeah, it's a combination of both. People want to complain about the pitching, and I get it. But when we do pitch it well, we can't hit. You can't. They haven't really put it together at all this year. I had a buddy texting me last night who's a diehard baseball guy, and he was saying how it's ridiculous that he and I could go. I'm like, dude, don't start that. Sully knows more baseball than we. He's trying to win these baseball games.
Of course,
but we just aren't very good this year, and I don't know how else to say it.
I'm telling you right now.
I'm very surprised.
Yeah, well, the expectations were high, just as they always are, because Sully has set the bar that high. And to be overly critical of Coach O'Sullivan is ridiculous. He gave you your one national title, been to Omaha several times. He's an elite recruiter, and they win a lot of games almost every year in Gainesville. But I mentioned LSU. I watched Dave Van Horn, who I think is as good as any coach in the country. Dave Van Horn, I did a lot of his games one year where they didn't even make the tournament. Vanderbilt hasn't been great this year. I think, quite honestly, with the new landscape of NIL, their inherent advantages as a private school and what they could offer for financial packages, that has been lessened. So my point is that every elite program in baseball, you see them drop. Like they're gonna, even the ones that are like Omaha, regional, super regional, Omaha, they will have that year where they just completely flounder and don't even make the postseason. Florida's not immune to that either. If it can happen to LSU, it can happen to anybody. So it's frustrating. I get it, and you've got one of the best players in the sport in Kaggs, which makes it a little more frustrating. But I hate to go back to that old cliche. Sometimes it's just baseball.
Yeah, Dan says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law, no problem with softball or baseball coaching. Fans need to stop that right now.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. I
Tony
concur.
says Vandy is screwed baseball wise. No more loopholes.
That's what I was talking about. Yeah. Yeah. And for those that don't know what we mean by that, so before NIL, baseball has an embarrassingly low scholarship allotment of 11.7. It's a crime. It's the dirty side of Title IX. It never should have come to that, and it's still for some reason people will fight for a lot of other sports, but they won't fight for college baseball. But Vanderbilt had this advantage as a private school. They had all these ancillary scholarships where they were getting kids on full rides. So you had a bunch of kids turning down like 7 figures to go pro that would come to Vanderbilt. Now, they didn't grow up Vanderbilt fans their whole life. They're not from Nashville. It was the best financial package. Well, now with NIL, Florida they can offer whatever they want. So if a CAGS is out there, they're not going to say, well, we're just going to give you books and half tuition. No. We're gonna get NIL money. We're going to give you a full ride, and we're going to give you a couple $100,000. I mean, that's what Arkansas is doing. That's what LSU's doing. I know some of the figures out there. Ask Freddie Weeby. I mean, he knows there is NIL in SEC baseball. Believe me, and it's legit because you got kids they can go straight to the pros if they want to. Unlike football and basketball, they're being offered insane amount of money, and a number of them are going to SEC because of NIL. Otherwise, they wouldn't have done it.
Yeah. Text on the Titan Mark text line from Jonathan. He says, with the NFL draft coming up, Mike, if you were in charge of the Bears, who would you take
Oh,
as the
gosh.
quarterback?
So, full disclosure, I am an NFL draft nerd.
Really?
Going back, Shane, I have not missed a second of the NFL draft since I was a college student at the University of Florida. I don't know where exactly. I think right around the Herschel Walker trade. As a kid, I was a Cowboy fan. That was one of my teams. And I just became obsessed with it. I became obsessed with Mel Kiper. I became obsessed with who's going to make it, who's not, because I was always a diehard college fan, and I wanted to predict. I wanted to play GM and say, okay, I think this guy's going to make it. This guy's going to be a bust. So literally, if I'm working, I DVR it. And if not, I'm watching every second of it. I'm a draft geek. It's a problem I have. People make fun of me, and I'm okay with it. I'm a football nerd, and that's all right. I could be worse things in life.
Yes.
The Caleb Williams thing to me is first of all, he's going to be number one. I don't think there's any question. I didn't see what some of the other people were seeing, Shane. I watched the Notre Dame game. He was awful. I watched some other games, fumbling problems. He didn't have some of the things that I would want to see out of the number one pick. And I've seen Drake May up close and personal, and I've seen Jalen Daniels up close and personal. But he's going to go number one because if you listen to the people that truly matter in this, the scouts that are evaluating, they say the arm talent there. I keep hearing Pat Mahomes. Again, I don't see Pat Mahomes, but they think from the arm talent standpoint, making throws off platform and doing all, it's there. Okay. And I'm not going to deny that it's there. But as you know, that's not the only part of football. You've got to have some acumen, and there's a lot of things that were left to be desired during his time. But yes, he is no question going to be the Bears' number one pick. They are not going to pass on him. Some people have cooled off on Drake May. Some people have cooled off on Daniels and his size. J.J. McCarthy has skyrocketed up, but he's not going to go that high, certainly. Bo Nix is fascinating to me. I think he can go first round. Penix was the best thrower of the football last year in college football, I thought, but he's had arm surgery, shoulder surgery, knee surgery. He's 24, and that's scaring some people off. So it's a fascinating quarterback class in this year's draft.
So before we let you go, do you watch like just the first and or do you watch it all the way?
Every pick, Shane, I want to know the running back in the SEC that went in the 7th round. And I want to say, okay, I'm glad to see he's getting a shot. You know what? I think he's going to make it. I think he's going to be the next guy that's kind of irrelevant in the draft, but he's going to make it. I watch every pick of every year's draft, and this year will be no exception. I know I need help. I mean, I need a therapist.
We need to get you playing golf. You got
hey, I played this past weekend, Shane, and first time I'd played in a while. I got 3 pars. The way I play with my old high school basketball coach who's still out there coaching, and he's like, Mike, put the scorecard away. Okay, you're not good enough right now to keep score. I said, okay, coach. He said, we're going to do this. A bogey and better is a good hole, and after that, you just pick it up. It's a bad hole. You don't think about it, and that's the way we played. And I was 6-3, good hole, bad hole on the front 9, 7-2, good hole, back hole on the back 9. Had 3 pars, and it only had like 1 blow up hole. So I that's how I had to do it mentally to not psych myself out. Yeah,
That's
good hole,
cool.
bad hole.
I never heard it that way.
Well,
Mike?
you're too good of a golfer to do it that way. This is for people like
yeah.
me. This is duffers like me, Shane.
Yeah. Well, good stuff as always, buddy. Appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you next week. Have a great week.
You got it. Be good, folks. Thank you.
That's Mike Morgan joining us on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. Appreciate y'all joining us today. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.